And this is why people vote for Trump. They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes. And I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff. On the trans issue, America is no ands, ifs, or buts about it, absolutely alone in the world now, an outlier country. Last month, England's National Health Service announced that there's not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of puberty blockers for third graders.
For years, the woke left have treated Canada like their glittering snow globe of perfection, America's polite, maple-flavored role model. But not everyone's drinking that syrupy Kool-Aid, especially Bill Maher. On a scorching episode of Real Time, he didn't just question the myth, he torched it like a stack of overcooked pancakes. Buckle up. This roast comes served extra crispy.
It was where every woke white college kid wearing pajama pants outdoors who'd had it up to here with America's racist patriarchy dreamt of living someday. There's only one problem with thinking everything's better in Canada. It's not. Not anymore, anyway. Last year, Canada added 1.3 million people, which is a lot in 1 year, the equivalent of the U.S. adding 11 million migrants in 1 year. And now they're experiencing a housing crisis even worse than ours. And we're sleeping in tents.
Ma wastes no time. He dives straight into the woke left's maple-flavored daydream and rips it open like a snow globe in a blender. First up on his hit list, Canada's housing catastrophe, the love child of feel-good immigration policies the American left drools over like it's Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Here's the frosty truth. Canada is staring down a jaw-dropping 3.5 million home shortfall by 2030, a gap so massive it makes California look like a landlord's paradise. Meanwhile, over 1 in 5 Canadians are already coughing up more than 30% of their income just to avoid sleeping in their Teslas. And yet, the woke brigade keeps hoisting Canada up like it's heaven on ice. Ma doesn't just smirk at that delusion. He torches it like a bonfire in a blizzard.
The median price of a home here is $346,000. In Canada, converted to US dollars, it's $487,000. If Barbie moved to Winnipeg, she wouldn't be able to afford her dream house, and Ken would be working at Tim Hortons.
Housing in Canada isn't just expensive, it's straight up brutal. The average home sits around $500,000 to $540,000. And in Vancouver or Toronto, those numbers rocket past $750,000 to over $1 million faster than you can say. Mortgage meltdown. Meanwhile, in the US, the typical home sits closer to $350,000 to $400,000. Suddenly, that snow utopia starts looking more like an economic ice bath. The woke left keeps chanting about copying Canada's brilliant model, but let's be honest, most of them are already struggling to stay afloat stateside. Slap Canadian price tags on American homes, and we're not building a progressive paradise. We're printing nationwide eviction notices. Maher's message hits like a cold gust off the Yukon. Copy Canada, and you won't get affordable living. You'll just get priced out of your own driveway.
Mortgage debt. Canada has the highest debt to GDP ratio of any G7 nation. I don't know what that means, but it sounds bad. So does their vaunted healthcare system, which ranks dead last among high-income countries in access to primary health care and ability to see a doctor in a day or two. And it's not for lack of spending. Of the 30 countries with universal coverage, Canada spends over 13% of its economy on it, which is a lot of money for free health care.
Canada's cracks are showing faster than a frozen lake in spring. And the liberal fan club's perfect utopia narrative is melting right along with it. Turns out the problems up north are a lot bigger than the maple-scented myth ever admitted. And let's be clear, Bill Maher isn't some MAGA firebrand waving a conservative torch. He's a lifelong liberal, the very guy the left used to parade around as their sharp-tongued mascot. That's what makes his takedown sting. It's not coming from the other side, it's coming from one of their own. If Maher's the one calling foul on Canada, then this fantasy isn't just cracked. It's a full-blown shatter zone. But here's the twist. Maher's not ranting for sport. He's holding up a mirror to America with that trademark smirk. Basically saying, "You want to copy this? Really? Because if Canada's your model, get ready for sky-high housing, broken promises, and a front-row seat to regret. And the best part? He's only just warming up."
I'm not saying Canada still isn't a great country. It is, but those aren't paradise numbers. If Canada was an apartment, the lead feature might be America adjacent. And if America was a rental car, Canada would be America or similar. And again, honestly, Canada, I'm not saying any of this because I enjoy it. I don't, because I've always enjoyed you. But I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right.
Is that a confession from Bill Maher? Has he suddenly defected to the right-wing rebellion? Not quite. It's just what happens when you wander too far into leftist la-la land. Eventually you hit the edge and realize gravity still works. When the left drifts so far off the rails that even lifelong liberals start gagging on the groupthink, the pendulum doesn't just swing back, it snaps. Not every disillusioned liberal turns conservative out of some newfound love for the GOP. Some just wake up one day and think, "Wait, when did everyone around me lose their minds?" Take Joe Rogan, once the patron saint of counterculture progressives, now labeled right-wing, for committing the cardinal sin of asking questions. Or Elon Musk, the guy who made electric cars cool and rockets reusable. Hardly a conservative resume, yet somehow exiled to the center-right for not clapping on Q.Mars in that same boat. He hasn't changed at all. The shoreline did. The left sprinted so far off the cliff that anyone standing still now looks like a Reagan speechwriter by comparison.
It is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. Like the saga of Canadian shop teacher Kayla Lemieux, whose pronouns are she, her, and those. Kayla is now back to being a guy named Kerry, but 2 years ago when they showed up to teach children, the progressive high school they taught at said that they, the school, not the person. Really, you couldn't have found another word. We were using that one. Anyway, okay. They were committed to a safe environment for gender expression. Safe for who? What about the children?
This is what happens when society collectively decides that everyone gets to rewrite reality, and the rest of us are forced into the improv show. The result? Pure unfiltered chaos, gender edition. Take the poor students, who couldn't even figure out what planet their teacher was orbiting from one day to the next. Monday, he walks in wearing a dress, declares himself a woman, and expects applause for the transformation. Tuesday, he's back to being a man like nothing ever happened. No explanation, no transition, no curtain call, just confusion and whiplash for everyone watching. That's not education. That's performance art gone rogue, and not the inspiring kind. The kind that leaves the audience wondering whether they missed the plot twist or the medication schedule. When identity turns into a revolving door, clarity packs its bags and leaves. What's left isn't progress. It's a costume change dressed up as enlightenment.
Change, but what people say about them doesn't. Yes, for decades, places like Vancouver and Amsterdam and Stockholm seemed idyllic because everything was free and all the energy we needed was produced by riding a bike to your job at the windmill. Canada was where all the treasured goals of liberalism worked perfectly. It was like NPR come to life. But with poutine.
And let's be clear, this circus of extreme wokeness isn't happening in some distant ideological petri dish. It's unfolding right next door, in the land of maple leaves and polite deflection, Canada. The same country America's liberals keep swooning over like it's the promised land with universal health care and better manners. This is their golden model, their northern shrine of progressive perfection. But scrape off that maple syrup glaze, and what do you actually find? Sky-high housing prices crushing families, identity politics running wild, classrooms that feel more like reality TV casting calls, and government policies that read like failed social experiments. Still, the American left gazes northward like lovesick teenagers. Convinced Canada is living out some enlightened fairy tale. It'd be hilarious if it weren't so tragic, because if this is utopia, it's one built on debt, dysfunction, and delusion. Maher's message slices straight through the sugar coating. Before liberals start photocopying Canada's playbook, they might want to read the fine print. Spoiler alert, it's not the fantasy brochure they keep handing out.
They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes. And I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff. On the trans issue, America is no ands, ifs, or buts about it, absolutely alone in the world now, an outlier country. Last month, England's National Health Service announced that there's not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of puberty blockers for third graders, and that they were going to stop fumbling around with children's privates, because that's Prince Andrew's job.
Maher is spot on. Trump didn't rise out of nowhere. He won because millions of Americans, including moderates and frustrated liberals, were done with the left's non-stop woke theatrics. The DNC turned into a circus with identity politics, cancel culture, and virtue signaling driving everyone away. Even young voters started tuning out. The party stopped looking like a movement and started feeling like detention with hashtags. And when the left forgot how to lead, they didn't just lose the White House. They practically handed it to Trump themselves.
So too with all the other good place countries, in direct opposition to America's choice to affirm children's wishes on switching gender, no matter the age or psychiatric history. The far left, which always like to use, well, Europe does it. Yeah, no, that doesn't work on this one anymore.
Ironically, the countries the woke left praise aren't buying into their gender dogma. Sweden, Finland, and the UK have restricted or banned medical transitioning for minors, prioritizing evidence and kids' safety over activism. Meanwhile, America's woke elite ignore this, claiming to follow the science, while the rest of the developed world quietly steps back. Even so-called enlightened nations won't gamble with children's futures for Twitter applause.
Or on immigration. Sweden opened its borders to over 1.5 million immigrants since 2010, and now 20% of its citizens are foreign-born, and its education system is tanking, and it has Europe's highest rate of gangland killings. And one result is that the far-right parties
Throwing borders wide open isn't compassion, it's calamity. Fentanyl smuggling has turned communities into ground zero for one of the deadliest drugs ever, leaving families shattered and a generation in crisis. Kids overdose in schools, parents choose coffins over dorms, all while the left calls it kindness. Mars warns, without secure borders, there's no peace, only chaos. From housing crises to gender confusion and drug devastation, the utopian mirage collapses. America doesn't need Canada's blueprint. It needs leadership, sanity, and a firm grip on reality.